Hey guys, super impromptu. Seriously, the fact that I've been able to create this is just mind-blowing to myself. And the reason that I was like, I need to get back into vlogs is basically to speak to women who want to build with AI. And look, beginners that want to build too, because I think that there's so much discussion out there about, I don't know, maybe that's just the conversations I've been in about Claude Code and like it bloats code and you're not a developer and you're not a software engineer. And there's a lot of negativity, I think, that prevents us from actually getting into the space and wanting to use it to learn and build. And here's the biggest thing, right? There is absolutely no way that we are saying we have the skills of a developer or that we have the skills of a software engineer or any sort of person in tech because we use Claude Code. But the reality of it is that AI is here to stay. And I think it pays for us to be aware of how we can use these tools to impact our lives. Whether it's like using AI to create, I don't know, a piece of like something that automates something that you do, or whether it's because you want to test an idea. And that's the thing, I think it has lowered the barrier for MVPs, right? It has lowered the barrier for us to get ideas out there and see if something will work before we invest in, bringing someone on board. Like for example, and I'll just show you, this is Content Flow, right? This is my actual software. There is no way, like any sort of universe, I would have been able to build something like this that literally fills itself in with AI by myself 3 years ago. So I think something that I'm seeing that's happening now as well in the AI space is, there's a lot of people that are trying to create with AI like myself, and we don't have any experience in it. And so we end up using tools that are like full stack tools. So they do everything. You basically put in the prompt like, hey, I want to build this, and it builds the entire thing and we have no idea how it's building it, right? And that's why I did a video this week on what a full stack is and what my full stack is that I use to build my software, because I had no idea as well. So because I went that way and I wasn't sure how I would build it out by myself, I ended up spending $2,700 on building this, when now I spend about $300 a month on Claude Code because that I use the max plan. So I think that's like the learning curve that I'm having right now. And I think the thing is the barrier to entry is lower, but with all these new tools that have come out that basically do like a full stack, so it does everything for you and you don't have to learn, it means that our costs end up being higher because we're leaning on these tools and we're not actually learning about what's going on in the background. And that's something that I think is really important, that we can learn literally on YouTube or even just as we go. And that's why I shared this video, and I get like in the video, which I'll attach here, that I speak about what a full stack is. And I would look at that next, because that is, really helpful to help you break down the types of tools and what you need to get your web app or your software live so that people can use it and you can test it. And guys, the reason that I let the cost get so high, again, $2,700 that I didn't really have to spend, and it wasn't even that, it was also obviously the spending, but it was the anxiety around literally like getting those inboxes with receipts at every 50 USD. Damn, that killed my soul. And then it was like the anxiety of telling my husband like, oh, this is how much I've spent, which he was fine about, guys. It's not even that. It's just saying it out loud. My husband's so chill. He was like, hey, go for it. Like, this is a great idea. He was so supportive, but not the point. It was just the idea that the barrier to entry in this sense was actually just me. It wasn't that we can't do this, it's that we think we can't. And that's something that I'm learning, especially with using Claude Code. Like, so many people had spoken about it and I was like, how am I going to learn that if I don't even know what I'm using, in the sense I don't know code? But I think the thing is, and the most important thing to remember is, when you're testing something and you're like learning if an idea is going to work before you invest more, this is the purpose of AI dropping that barrier. I'm not expecting myself to create some kind of unicorn where I'm not going to need a developer or someone with better skills than me. Like, that's not the expectation whatsoever. It's literally just about giving ourselves the opportunity to build something, to try something, to see if it's going to work, to improve our skills, to give it a go. And that's exactly what we're doing. And I feel like that's the challenge that we're having as well around the conversation with AI. It's like, okay, don't get left behind by it. But then when you try to use it, people are like, yeah, this is shit, or like, it does this or it does that. Like, and that's why I did that video first on the tech stack. And then another thing that really helped me, and that's in the video, I'll post here as well, that helped me to improve the way Claude Code works. And again, not something that I learned by absolute mistake. Put a couple of questions into Claude Code, was like, can I use this to make it better? And it worked. So again, this is all like trial and error. And I feel like it's really important to put this out there, because trial and error is like how we learn. But I do think that there's like these mixed conversations happening with AI at the moment where it's like, like I see people write, oh, you're not using AI properly, you're not using it to its full capability. But then when you try to get into something, it's become this other conversation where it's like all these people are trying to be coders and trying to be developers and like, okay, so where do we land? But that's the thing, we land where we want to. So I'm just like, just give it a go. Who cares? Like I got nothing to lose as long as I'm using Claude Code, because then I'm spending $2,700 and have a lot to lose. And that's why I stopped using this, because I was like, this can't be right. How am I spending this much money when I know that other people aren't? And when I went into Reddit, it was worse because all these people were talking about this particular thing I was using that, look, did save me a lot of time, I will add, in learning. But in saying that, I think for the long run, I remember thinking, how am I going to launch this product with expenses like this? Like it wasn't going to work because my expenses were already like way too high just to edit things, and I just couldn't do it. So I think that's the most important point I think I want to have in this vlog, and the thing that I'm learning by trying to create my own software based on absolutely no experience. Look, I lie. I have built an app with Flutterflow, but building software is a little bit different, involves different code and a different process. So that's why I speak about that. But in saying that, I do think it's important that we learn the fundamentals. But do we have to learn the fundamentals and be an expert? No. We can go on Claude Code, use terminal, and literally paste and be like, what's happening here? What's happening here? And that's how we can learn, right? And I think that's the important part. I'm no longer putting myself in this box of like, I either have to be a developer or I can't subscribe to what AI is doing to the world. Like exhausting. Can I just see where I go with it and take a step at a time? So if you want to get into it, I would highly recommend, I don't know, I think building an app was hard. It took me a year, it took me a really long time. I was a whole different thing, Flutterflow I used. So it was like a whole different thing. And I just think that one was not for me. And also didn't love that App Store took 30% off the bat. I felt like that was a lot. But yeah, I definitely think software is more my vibe. And if you feel like that's something that you want to do, subscribe if you want, of course, don't have to. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about the journey as I go as well as sharing tutorials from things that I learned. Like I definitely want to do a tutorial on how to create a website. I need to create my own website. And then I wanted to do like a full-blown tutorial from A to Z of how to create software. And when I mean like, I'm not talking just about using Claude Code. I'm talking about the full AI stack, how we would go from start to end so that you know exactly what your process is. And that's what I spoke about in the video, which I'll chuck up here. But yeah, no, it's been fun and it's been fun to learn. Guys, remember sometimes the barrier to entry is us, and listening to all the noise out there and the conversations around AI rather than just jumping into it and learning ourselves. And it's the best thing that I've done by far. It's the most fun I've had in a really long time. Building is so much fun. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful for you and it motivates you to get started as well.